Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started, and my computer has decided to have a mind of its own, so we're gonna have Aaron come up and see if he can get us connected. But the good news is, you have handouts in front of you, and so, what I wanted to do to start today, and then we'll kind of move into, another subject, but, we are, based on MSIP 5, if you could just connect my computer to this, it would be great.
Can you log in?
Yeah. It's just shut down and then it started doing all that crazy stuff. So there's a couple of things that you have in front of you, and I'll just go over what those are, and then we'll run through what we're going to be doing today. So based on MSIP 6 next steps, as you guys know, we've been keeping up to date on those kind of things. And so really our next step is going to be getting board approval for the comprehensive school continuous improvement plan, which we have gone over several times in this committee meeting anyway. But that's going to come up in November, that we'll ask for board approval on that particular plan. And I know you guys have seen it quite a bit, but one of the things that DESE has recently given us, in some districts, wish they would have had this a little sooner, is a continuous improvement CSIP scoring guide. So you guys each have one of those at your particular station, or seat. And so, okay, perfect. Ooh, everyone's gonna get a gander at my lovely desktop.
They're gonna tell you to clean your desktop.
I know. That's just the way I roll. Sorry. So what you have in front of you is a couple of different things. One is kind of a heavier packet. These look similar, but one has a St. Joe School District emblem in the upper left-hand corner. We're not going to talk about that one right now. We're going to talk about the one that's a little bit heavier, if you guys are good with that. So what I wanted this group to be able to do today would be to go through the scoring guide and make sure that you are clear about, as board members, as this team, make sure that, you know, when we bring this proposal in November on the 28th to the board meeting, that you feel like it's been thoroughly vetted through this particular team. And of course, we've been meeting about this since June. But at the same time, we're kind of in that 11th hour time where we would go through and make sure that we've checked all the boxes when it comes to our CSIP. So
I think what we'll do at the board meeting, for the sake of time, is we'll take this. So we're going to go through it today. You three are going to hear it, and then I'll ask you three to speak to the CSIP thing, so we don't have to, so she doesn't have to go through the entire document again. And you just say, we went through the scoring guide and we checked everything off. I mean, say what you want to say, but we're going to do that today. So for the sake of not spending another hour and 15 minutes next Monday night at the board meeting, you guys help us out there on that.
Yeah, and will they have the attachment on in the minutes?
Yeah.
Or
The board packet?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh, no, you're fine. And so, so really what we'll do is just kind of go through the questions that we have in front of us, and then I'll point you to the place in the CSIP, or if it exists in the response to standards, because the response to standards are 6 questions that we have to answer as a school district as well. So when the committee scores our CSIP at the DESE level, they'll look for things either in the CSIP or in the response to standards. And so if it's not findable, that's not good for us. So, okay, so what I wanted to do, and again, we're going through the heavier packet, not the lighter packet, if that makes sense. And so it's also going to be up here on the screen as well. So basically, we're just going to get started, and if you look at the top of your scoring guide, it references L3, so that's a standard within MSIP 6. And it's that the local board adopts, monitors, and annually reviews the implementation and outcomes of the continuous school improvement plan that focuses on district performance and improvement. And then they have the CSIP developed in meaningful collaboration with internal and external stakeholders is the product of and based upon a data-based needs assessment. And so then we go down to the questions. Here's the requirement. The CSIP was developed in meaningful collaboration with internal and external stakeholders. And then it's got 2 bulleted questions. Do you have stakeholders listed in your CSIP? The answer to that question is definitely yes, and I can even point you to a place where that exists and we can go through the document. But we have an extensive list of folks that have participated in especially Vision Forward, and the feedback from that particular group certainly coincided and informed this plan. I think that's clear in the committees that have come out of the plan that Dr. Edgar shared with us on Monday. And so all of those pieces are in this particular plan, and I would say that they maybe even borrowed a little bit from us on that well-being aspect that they added. So we have an extensive list. Eileen has provided that for us. In addition, this group has worked with us since June to develop this. And so I can provide all that information, and this plan has already been submitted to our regional director, and she agreed that we did have that collaborative approach and an extensive listing of multiple types of stakeholders. Do the external stakeholders include parents, community members, and board members? Absolutely. So we definitely would meet that particular box. 2, the evidence shows that stakeholders are engaged in ongoing CSIP development and/or progress monitoring. Do you update your stakeholder group on the CSIP progress at least annually? Well, I would suggest that we've been doing it monthly through these meetings ever since June, and we'll continue that process as we move forward, because the CSIP isn't a doorstop, it's a living document, and so we'll continue that. Do you have a mechanism in place on how you communicate to stakeholder groups regarding CSIP updates, additions, and changes? Yes, we do, because we meet here. And then in addition to that, we've also brought these particular plans up in the Academic Services Committee meetings. In addition, I know that updates are given at the board meeting, and then we'll also pass this at the board meeting. And so one of the suggestions we got from the regional director is once we get approval of this plan, then working with our communications department to push this out, have it on our website, and all of those pieces. So to continue to push it out in that way. Are the stakeholder groups involved in ongoing progress monitoring? Yes. You guys have seen our beginning of the year balanced scorecard. You've seen our Success Ready Index. You will soon be seeing our middle of the year balanced scorecard, our Social and Emotional Index. And today I'll show you, if we have time, a little bit about our Access and Opportunity Index that we've built as a school district to ensure equity in different areas. So yes, we do have that. The CSIP is based upon data needs assessment. Absolutely, and if you go into your big packet, you can see where we list out every single type of data that we use to inform this plan. And we broke it out by elementary, middle, and high school. So we told them across the district what types of data we were using and included our survey data in that work. So, and I can point you to these items, and if you would like to have visual proof of these things, if you go to page 3 in your bigger document, in figure 1, it says data analysis and goal setting. So there is not a chance that this committee could miss that component. They're not going to be wondering where is this data analysis and goal setting. And so That is on page 3. So again, was the information used to develop the CSIP? Yes. We're on item number 3, by the way, under L3. And do we do a culture and climate survey? Yes. We emailed Dr. Edgar and I both were on the email to the regional director, and we shared that we give the student Gallup poll, we give the Q12 employee engagement survey, we have given a community-wide survey on culture and climate, and in addition a parent survey. So we definitely have checked that box as well. So that is something that they'll be able to find because it is definitely in our figure 1 as well. The various data sources, quantitative and qualitative, were used to develop the CSIP and review an ongoing progress. Did you share the quantitative and qualitative data used to develop the CSIP? Yes, we did, because quantitative data, and it tends to be more number-based, and you guys have seen a lot of numbers in this particular group, but the quantitative pieces tend to be more the survey pieces. And those survey pieces were shared with you in the Academic Services Committee meeting if you were there. We updated the balanced scorecard with the student Gallup poll data. So those more quantitative pieces are also there. And next time we meet, we'll go over the Q12 employee engagement survey, which really is fundamentally tied to culture and climate, as is the student Gallup poll. So we'll be going over that as well.
You said Q12?
Yeah, it's called Q12 because there's just 12 questions.
Okay.
It's,
You said that survey has not gone out yet?
it has been deployed on Monday, so we
Okay.
should have that data back to you next month when we meet. We're meeting next month, so yes. So we'll share that particular report with you at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, so that really takes care of that L3 standard. So we've been able to check all the boxes on that. And then if you move on to B, the local board ensures that the CSIP focuses on academic preparation and well-being of each student. And I think we've all heard that phrase several times during these meetings. So this is how they break that down. The local board is engaged in the review of the plan and progress towards goal attainment multiple times throughout the year. So is CSIP updates and progress part of the board agenda? I would say yes. Fundamentally through this particular meeting, it's also been in academic services, and we have updates pretty regularly in the standing board meetings. So that is definitely something that we have been doing. You can see they ask the same questions multiple times. The local board addresses the well-being of each student through social, emotional supports and other measures. Do you have goals and objectives that support the well-being of students? The answer to that question is yes, because we have our success, our social and emotional index. And so I have not shared that yet with you guys because we didn't have the data yet to share that with you. And so that will be shared next month. If you would like a sample of that, you can't see it very well, but it's on page 5. It's figure 4, the SJSD Social and Emotional Index. It looks a lot like our Success Ready Index, and it is on page 5. They're not going to be able to miss that. I'll have that populated for you next month, as well as when we go over the Q12 employee engagement survey data. So you'll be able to see how we are doing when it comes to social and emotional learning for our students based on that index. So again, they're not going to be able to miss that one, and that's how we monitor that particular component. Okay, so we've covered page 1 of met, not met. So far, we're good.
One thing that I would state that last month we did forget to put the MSIP, I think we talked about that. And Donna, we have it as a standing item now. Obviously, CSIP will be the item for November, but it'll be December, January. we're just gonna leave it on the agenda so I don't forget.
Yeah.
So if you guys will do me a small favor and just back up to page 4 of the larger document, goes to how does the SJSD determine stakeholder needs and engagement. So what we did is we broke that down into how do we listen to folks? If you look along that column on the left, how do we interact with folks? How do we observe? How do we communicate? And how do we support? So we really looked at that multidimensionally and looked at all the ways that we do that and what stakeholders, if you see across the top, we looked at what stakeholders those different ways of engaging with folks and developing partnerships with folks happens in the St. Joe School District. So again, it's going to be tough for the committee to miss this particular component on how we're engaging stakeholders, and we do it through multiple ways. So I'll just pull that up. So that's on page 4. So you can see multiple approaches that we take to listen, interact, observe, and communicate and support. And then we see how that impacts our students, our parents, our staff, and our taxpayers, which are a separate group than our parents. Okay, so we're on to item number 4 in terms of met, not met. So the CSIP drives leaders and teachers in the development and implementation of academic instruction. How are administrators and teachers involved in the CSIP process, and how do they support the development and implementation related to academic instruction? So we frame that up through the lens of including our professional development plan in a link in this particular document and our assessment plan, as well as we will have a link to all the building improvement plans. And within that particular component, we will also include our curriculum advisors work that you got to hear about in the academic services meeting last month, because those are really the engines, so to speak, that drive the supports of administrators and teachers being involved in the CSIP process, because all of those plans are derived from the 4 goals of our CSIP. So they're all interlinked together. And so that's how they're involved in this process. And how do they support the development and implementation related to academic instruction? Those plans are all geared or aimed at what is the St. Joe School District's core competency, which is teaching and learning. If we're good at one thing, it ought to be that. And so that goes back to the academic preparation and well-being of each student every day in the St. Joe School District. So that's how we incorporate, that CSIP drives that particular component. And if you go to C on this particular plan, it says the CSIP contains clear standards of mission and vision, and that is included in the plan because I write specifically to that in the verbiage. Limited number of focus goals and objectives. Well, if you go back to the very front page, it's limited goals, 4 goals, and it's got some very limited bulleted objectives under that. So it is not this massive plan. Now it's got a lot of moving parts on the inside to make sure that 4 simple goals get effectuated through a large organization, but it does contain those things. Evidence-based action steps and strategies. So if you go to, and I'm going to skip you a little bit here, I'm going to skip you to page 8 on the bigger plan. So on page 8, it's page 8 on my living document, on my digital document, but it's page 9 on the, I guess the dead document. That's not a nice way to put that. But so if you go to page 9, this is just one example, and we can look at the other examples. But you can tell that on page 1, we've got it just written in a nice little form, and there's a little nice bulleted items. But if you unpack it and go to page 9, then you're looking at a template that DESE sent to all the districts across Missouri. And they said, this is how we want you to develop an action plan. So, for that, and that is answering to evidence-based action steps and strategies. So, if you look, for example, CSIP Goal 1, visionary leadership will guide St. Joseph School District's continuous improvement and innovation methods. And then it wants a SMART goal, and so we wrote a SMART goal. And then it wants a monitoring tool, so we set a monitoring tool. And you guys have seen this 1.1.1 KPI balanced scorecard measures in October. We already showed that to you. We'll show it to you again in January, and we'll show it to you again in May. And we want to have 175 points on our balanced scorecard. And so we have set all that in place. Then we have a plan. You can see this is the plan that was derived for this particular meeting, so that you guys were kept abreast of all of the ongoing things that we were doing with regard to MSIP 6 this year, since we were the lucky participants in year 1 implementation. And then evidence-based strategies, we've listed them all out, they can't miss them. And then what are the MSIP indicators? Those are the heavy-hitting lead standards that DESE has set forth that govern and guide our CSIP, and certainly are aimed at the academic preparation and well-being of each student. And then a funding source, which Katie has gone over extensively in each one of these goals. So all of those pieces are there. The timelines for and if you go back to your scoring guide, the timelines for implementation and monitoring, well, boom, there it is right there on page 9. So it just shows that's our timeline, and that's how we're implementing this. And in addition, it ends up being at board meetings and potentially academic services meetings. Persons responsible for implementation and monitoring. If you guys remember the OnStrategy software that we have, we took all of the minutia of this plan, we put it into software, and each one of our key performance indicators is tied directly to most likely a department head. So whether that be, Kara or Dr. Anderson and Ms. Duvall, or Dr. McGinnis or Dr. Gilpin, Ms. Clark, et cetera, even to Dr. Edgar himself. So those are all, everyone has something that they're responsible for, and I go in and update that, and I go in and check that with folks and say, where are we on this particular goal? So we're continuing to knock that out. So yes, and they will know that because I've articulated that in the plan, and I can show you too where that exists here in a little bit. Funding sources, boom, you've got it right in the plan, as you can see from an action plan. So, and then other information, I'm unclear what that means, but we did include the information that was required there. So if you go back to requirement, evidence indicates the plan sets expectations for practices across academics, culture, and school objectives. Are your goals and objectives supportive of academics, culture, and school operations? Well, the answer would be yes, because if you look at our balanced scorecard that monitors our CSIP, we include every single one of those components on our balanced scorecard. If you remember, it's on the side of the balanced scorecard, the acronym is FACE, but it's finances, academics, climate, and employee engagement. So we hit all of those things because that's how we monitor what's inside this plan. And if you look at the goals themselves, they're all aimed at students' preparation and success, and climate and culture, happy place to learn and work, and equity, which is that we're looking at the gaps that might exist in some of that particular data. So we do have those particular pieces in place. All of the requirement components are addressed in the CSIP. Are the components listed under CSIP contains evident in your CSIP? In other words, you have to go back up to C, which we just went through, and they want to know, is it evident? I would suggest, and you can read through it again, that it is very evident that we have those pieces, because we keep doing same song, second verse We're gonna have another plan just like this for the second goal, and the third goal, and the fourth goal. So we're just repeating ourselves. Evidence-based strategies are identified in the plan and are supported by highly focused action steps. Yes, they are, because if you go and look on page, I guess it would be 10 of your particular plan. So if you look on page 10, and this is just one of our goals, keep in mind. Here you've got the action plan. And some of the action plans are a little more stepped out. They're certainly stepped out in terms of our KPIs and when we expect those key performance indicators to be accomplished. But we do have a clear action plan. And if you notice, some of the action plans are framed up as short-term action plans. In other words, the next 30 to 90 to 120 days, even out to 300 days. But long-term, long-range plans are also included here. And so it just reminds us that we'll go back, we'll take some of the feedback from Vision Forward, the committee meetings, all of the ongoing things that the school district is aimed at, and those can be included in those long-range plans, and all of a sudden next year they're in our short-term plans. So that's how that particular mechanism works, maintaining the same goals. So those pieces are definitely in there, so we do have those action plans. So do you provide completion dates rather than ongoing? Yes, we do, because if you look back at the SMART goals, they're time-bound. And so what the state found, what DESE found from the pilot districts is that the schools were just saying, oh, this is an ongoing goal. We didn't take that approach. Even without that feedback, we set time-bound goals so that we are able to use the data to change up if we need to. So if something's not going right, we're not just going ongoing. We have time-bound goals set so that we can make adjustments during the school year to continue to improve. So yes, if you look at any of our SMART goals, they're all time-bound, and they all have a metric attached to them. So they're not whimsical type goals. Evidence-based strategies are identified in the plan and are supported by highly focused action steps. Here we are back to that, unless I've already read this. Can your strategies be measured? Yes, because we have metrics tied to all of them. Do you know how you will measure? Do you know how you will measure if strategy is completed successfully? Yes, we do. Because we have, and I'll go back to it again, but we have the Student Success Ready Index, we've got the Balanced Scorecard, we got the Social and Emotional Index, we have the Equity and Access and Opportunity Index that I can share with you guys. So we do know whether or not we're achieving our goals throughout the course of the year. Then we move on to D. The local board regularly monitors the implementation and outcome of the CSIP. The local board reviews the CSIP at least quarterly. Well, we're doing that monthly, if you ask me. So yes, and they would be able to find, the committee would be able to find that in this action plan right here. So there it is. They can't miss it. The local board monitors CSIP progress and outcomes. Yes, we do. And that's evident in this particular document, and it's also in the verbiage in this plan that, again, the same song, second verse, but we look at the balanced scorecard 3 times a year, okay, through the lens of multiple pieces. Then the local board uses the CSIP as a guide in developing the budget to address identified outcomes. Katie has been deeply involved in this process, and by Katie, I think you guys all know I'm talking about Katie Nye. She has been a deep part of the equity and access components of our goals, because as we look at our needs and as we look at our goals, how funds are allocated to different components is incredibly important. And in fact, we highlighted the budgeting process that the St. Joe School District now uses as an equity component of our school district, because it is a very rigorous process. It's very individualized to schools. and it is very well monitored throughout the school year. So it is something that we feel was a highlight for us to share with the state of Missouri as to how we utilize and resource the needs in the school district. So that is definitely something that you guys are well aware of too in your committee meetings as to how finances are going. So then we move on to E, the CSIP guides the development and implementation of other plans. So building improvement plans, ESEA consolidated plan, professional development plan, assessment plan, and technology plan. So we included those plans in this particular document, so they allow us to link our plans in. Well, I won't keep scrolling, I'll make you all dizzy. But basically what we did is we included all of those plans in this particular document. And again, this has already been reviewed by our regional director, so she was able to click on all of those plans and ensure that we are using the CSIP to drive those plans. So we just put the finishing touches on the technology plan yesterday with Jake Kelly and Dr. Segrist. And they are very much, that plan is very much a function of all the standards that are in the comprehensive guide to MSIP 6. So cybersecurity, privacy, and then instructional technology, which Dr. Segrist, Dr. Edgar, Jake, now we have instructional technology leaders in that particular department as well. So that adds to us being able to answer a lot of standards within MSIP 6.
I didn't realize technology was part of MSIP 6, but it makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's very much, well, one of the standards that really is pulled out of that, I point at Shannon because it's under L10, which is where he's living and breathing with the safety components of MSIP 6. And it's actually a component, it's like L10E that has the cybersecurity. But then TL9, which is a teaching and learning standard, is solely dedicated to instructional technology and support for our teachers.
And those are the positions that we just added, about 6 months ago. We didn't have those positions going into this, and that was the reason behind the lines.
So we're able to articulate that through the technology plan that Jake's developing. And of course we have the assessment plan on those particular pieces. All right, so yes, we're linking all of that. There's no way they're going to miss it. The CSIP guides the development and implementation of, I already read it. Evidence indicates the CSIP processes are reflected in all required plans. So yes. And are they linked to your CSIP and easily found? Yes, well, not at the moment, but yes, they will be able to see those. Individual school plans are aligned to the CSIP. Yes, they are. And so that's something that I know that Dr. Gilpin and Ms. Clark have worked very hard to make sure each building has a plan and that those plans are monitored. So again, it goes from the district CSIP, then you got your department level plans, and then you have your building level plans, and then you have some of your programmatic plans, whether that's gifted or even down to the curriculum advisors and what those plans entail. So this will all be easy for them to be able to see. And then we're already on the last page, so I believe page 3. It just says, do you have building continuous improvement plans? Yes, we do. So we'll link that into the plan as well. And then lastly, it says evidence indicates that all plans are implemented with fidelity. Do you have a process in place to ensure district plans are shared with the board and update provides information related to the plans? And again, yes, we do. We're having these meetings. We have continuous board updates. And again, they're all aimed at making sure that the board is well aware of academic preparation and the well-being of the students. And that requires supports from a financial lens, from a climate and culture lens, and certainly from an employee engagement lens. So all of those things to support what we really are trying to do, which is ensure academic preparation and well-being of our students. So I've been through this, our regional director has been through this, we have met these particular requirements. The comment was that our work had been noted, and so I think that all of those things were good. The only comments that we had was to relook at a couple of the funding sources, so Katie and I did that. And then the only other comment was once this gets going, to make sure that we get it communicated. And so I'll be working with Eileen on that. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about the scoring guide, but I would be happy to answer anything that you might have.
Nothing from me.
Okay. Well, I feel like we've kicked the tires and been under the hood quite a bit with this particular plan, so hopefully you guys feel confident in supporting it.
So
The
Don,
other,
whenever you attach those documents to the board packet, put all three of them in there, but put this one first. And that's what I'll start the conversation with, and then let these three take it from there.
And I wonder if it'd be beneficial to have Katie give a brief of how the CSIP is used to form the budget.
I have actually, she's already done that in our response to standards. Under where we have to respond to how we provide equity and access, so she's already got that all written out for me. So
Okay.
do you want me to just maybe send that to Dr. Edgar and he can send that to you?
Yeah, and then just add it to the attachments, that way they can see, that part, because I think that's important.
And so really this particular one, and it depends on how you guys want to do this, but my thought process was I put the St. Joe School District emblem on this one. And it kind of took out a lot of the verbiage that's in the big long plan because people could really get confused. I believe, you guys have been involved in this, but took out the verbiage and really just left the pieces and parts. Basically, the goals and the action plans are in this one, and it kind of stripped out some of the examples and things like that because this is just a cleaner version for people not in the weeds, I guess, of the plan. So however you guys would want to do that, but this might be something the public could better understand without all the other stuff. But that's just an option that I wanted to throw out there.
You said it'd be posted on the website once it's all done.
Yes. So we'll make sure that this gets posted, and it may look a little different. We may do, they're a little more creative down in the communications department, so maybe we'll have it look a little different.
Yeah, maybe a little simpler, just for some people who are looking at this and being like, what does this even mean?
Yeah, and so that was kind of the goal. So, so that really was the aim of this particular meeting today. So we might be done a little early. I'm sure that would not hurt anyone's feelings terrifyingly much, but
Is there anything in MSIP 6 that's directly tied to professional development for board members?
yes.
I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Well, it's in the response to standards.
Okay.
So if you look at, and I can just pull that up. So this is our collaborative document, so this is a little messy at the moment, but basically that is the question we have to respond to on our response to standards. The local board and superintendent, chief executive officer engage in ongoing professional development, self-evaluation in order to strengthen governance and practices. So I have talked to Dr. Edgar about this. I've talked to Donna. Donna sent me a list of all the professional development that board members have participated in this year. And in addition to the things that Dr. Edgar has been participating in. And so I'm going to take that and consolidate that because again, this is a committee scoring this, so the less wordy you are, the better. So I'm probably going to put all of that like in a chart. And then if it's okay with Dr. Edgar, I might visit with some board members and just get some quotes and
Yeah.
just some feedback and incorporate that story into this particular response, because the response for standards, like you can tell just that this is kind of dry, and it is kind of same song, second verse over and over again. Whereas the response to standards are really where the state is asking you to tell your story. And so if you're not a data nerd, you're not going to get this, you may not get the story from this, but this allows us to tell that story. So I know that a lot of board members, I know Dr. Edgar has been in a lot of professional development, and really how that shaped your approach to governance
Yeah.
and how you govern as a board member. So yes, so we'll be doing that. We've got a lot of these done. There's only 6 questions, but they cover a lot. Academic services will tell you, we've been over this several different times to try to weave together stories, and we're still working on that. So that's where that comes in.
Maybe we could get together.
Yeah, Donna actually created that list. I'm not so sure, Dave, there wasn't like probably 30 things. It was pretty impressive. I was kind of.
But I know we do a lot.
You do a lot.
From time to time, you know, of course we have MSBA, but then there's sometimes where, you know, I went to St. Louis and heard Todd Whitaker speak, and we got a book for every board member.
It's all on there.
Just,
Yeah.
okay.
It's all on
Yeah.
Some things like that.
Yeah, and I think those and then meeting, maybe if it's okay again, that I could get some, you know, some just stories from
Yeah.
those, and then just push those into, because that's really what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Not necessarily any more of my charts and
MSBA, does that qualify? Because everybody has to do that, but.
well, but still, it is, you know, it is, with the list, I think it shows above and beyond
Yeah.
what the professional development.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, I'm assuming that you will be presenting this at the board meeting.
I could, if that's okay with everyone.
I think that's what Dr. Edgar was referring to.
Okay.
Kendra's already added it on there, because usually on the agenda, it's an information item, but it will be an action item this time. And basically, once you present it, you probably need to make a recommendation. You probably need to say, you know, this committee recommends that we accept this as presented.
Okay.
I don't know if Ms. Miller might want to take part in some of that presentation too. since-
Yeah.
Eventually, if there's more to add after she's done. I think you'll be.
We're rock, paper, scissors and figure it out.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Ken.
Okay, yeah,
You bet. You bet.